Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is Hambbage coming back and we're going to get some hardcore Minecraft going once again. I think we have a lot to do today. Hopefully, if you have enjoyed the previous videos, if this is your first time joining us, thanks so much for dropping in. We're working on a villager trading outpost that we've built from scratch. We dug it out of the Rocky Mountain core ourselves, and I think it's coming along pretty nicely. Hope you do too. At any rate, we've got lots of work to do in that regard, so we're just going to dive right in. Again, we'll pop off the slide. We're going to select our world. The others being just my own personal ones that predated this. Haven't had much cause to touch them since we've gotten going. I've been having so much fun in this world and sharing it all with you that that kind of fills the need. So here we go. Today we are going back over to our outpost. We'd come this way, and I believe, if memory serves, we were on the very brink of harvesting. Our crops hadn't fully grown, but we're close. And here's what I think we're going to do while we're back here. Just take a look at our sugar. And again, it doesn't hurt to kind of take a loop and get a look at everything. It will load the various chunks that we're working on. And that only gives extra ticks or cycles within the game world to allow opportunity for all of these individual plants, or crops to grow, develop another cycle while we're working here. So very good opportunities all around, and I know we've certainly made very good progress yesterday in locating and then plowing straight ahead with our villagers, and we definitely want to maintain that momentum, and we'll try to do so. However, further increasing our surplus of tradable goods as our first batch of villagers become adult farmers and we set them to trade is one thing we need to factor. The second is that we still need to continue to add to our stock of diamonds, because while we've got armor for the most part now, we are well set except for our boots. What we will need, even if we get all our librarians set up and everything, we're not going to waste emeralds and experience to apply enchantments to our iron tools, knowing that they're going to break, even if they have mending, right? We'll just find that they don't last as long and they're not as efficient. An iron pickaxe doesn't mine as quickly as a diamond one, no matter how well provisioned it is. So we want more diamonds, and that will help us because it will continue to allow our crops to further mature and get us another session there. So much to do and so much going on. The one thing that I really am going to kind of put on hold for the moment, and I hope you all will bear with, is the abandoned mineshaft that we had discovered early in our play session for my yesterday, around episode 7, I believe. And even while we're playing here today, I believe episode 11 will publish. Got some of those on the schedule just to spread them out a little bit. So we got a good stock up on the channel yesterday, and I hope you all have a chance to enjoy those. Being Sunday today in my world, I think I may continue to pace those out a little bit further and just expand the schedule heading into the regular midweek days. May be a little bit more interrupted in my content. We'll see how how often we can get back here. I think things are, we're kind of hitting that. There's so many fun stages. I love the beginnings of worlds. I think those are great when you're just looking around trying to find a home, and get your first basic tools. And survival is an ever-present question. You don't know if you're going to make it to that next day, as we found out in World 1. Go ahead and check out that first episode on my channel if you haven't seen that one. The first world, I think, lasted around 3 hours or so. I haven't looked back at it, but ended quite spectacularly in that same episode, which is a little bit longer than any of the other ones on the channel. Did continue all the way into the first couple hours of starting this world. So, well worth a watch if you've been following along at all and want to loop back. Again, it's fairly long, but maybe, throw it up in the background while you're working on something else. I like having these berry bushes, but I really don't want to harvest them because they'll just take up inventory space, and to my knowledge, there's no trading or anything for them. As I said, I think we'll go down and hit our diamonds again. We'll probably do one boat trip first, and we're just going to load up our inventory. The limitation of no shulkers certainly slows a bit of this early process for trading down, just because of capacity. We don't have as much room. But we'll take a loop around the farm. We'll hit the crates again before we circle back, jump in the boat, go over and say hi to our villagers, make sure that they're fully fed, and if needed, drop a couple more beds. I don't know how many will be awaiting us when we get back over there, so we'll do our best. We'll also drop off this extra cooked stone that we had, and I think we may have another batch inside. So still quite a bit to do. And all of that leading up to a trip down below our house, down our stairs. We'll see Oi's parents. We'll say hi to them and admire our new ferns. We will see if we can't get another stack of diamonds, maybe, if we're lucky. And then we will hopefully have a full crop load of harvest to do. Now, before we really start the mining, I'm going to want to reset my picks, get fully geared up for that expedition. We'll drop off the bed, some of that kind of stuff. However, while we're just primarily focused on transporting a bunch of supplies, let's not, we get extra spots there. That's an extra stack of goodies to take back over to them. So we'll just make this one carrots. We've got plenty. And let's get moving once again. Really impressed with this playthrough on my end, how, and whether it's my play style, I'm not sure, but how naturally I'm adapting to moving more with more priority towards the villager trading than independent XP and some of those kind of things. And I do think that's maybe a sign of just having, over a long period of time, develop my play style a little bit more. I think at some point there haven't been worlds in a while that I haven't done, a dark room, to have kind of an XP farm and ready stuff. And I would imagine we're going to get back to that. But I'm wondering, and I was kind of thinking of this off stream, how far along we get without that now, knowing that we'll be swapping our. Oh, look at that! We got an extra. They're still producing more, so we're moving quickly to that 6-person capacity, where once we reach 6, we will then. And I'm just looking here. Sorry for the broken thought, but I want to make sure I'm not sitting on more composting bins. So I'm going to make 3 more that we'll use to create our last 3 farmers. So we've got our 3. Now we can put our planks away. We don't need those. We will pop through our entrance that, again, they can't use. And we're going to throw these down so that we get... You'll become a farmer. Oh, sir. Oh, no, that's a little kid. I thought I was in the perspective made me think that guy was bigger than he was. So we've already got 6 present. We have 4 adult farmers there, known by their hats. We have 2 more young that will become farmers, and then we have 1 more who will ultimately become the first that we will give an opportunity to come over here and have his own private quarters. And eventually, he or she will become a librarian. But to do that, it will have to be nighttime, and we, as I said, have lots of other stuff to do as well while we're letting them grow up. So rather than just standing around and having a conversation with them, we're going to toss some more potatoes into the mix. They will trade those back and forth within one another, and that is how they ultimately will produce new villagers, just like golden apples for a horse or wheat for the cows, seeds for the chickens. They're giving one another, whether it's potatoes or carrots or bread, those trades between them are what produce the hearts and will ultimately give us more villagers. So hopefully while we're gone, and I don't know if they'll get out of load and hold off on that, but we want them to keep at it, even if they don't, if they're not loaded while we take the chance to get some more produce here. They will very likely have be ready to start immediately when we return, is where I was going. So now we want to prepare for our mining. And as I said, we know about the abandoned mine shaft. It's in a nice close proximity to where we are. We've already gone back. We've found name tags and things like that. And there's going to be more to discover there. I'm sure of it. They can get a little tough to know how much remains or how far you go because they're non-standard. They don't follow a particularly linear path. I guess I'll carry those. I was kind of wondering, but we'll take them along, and maybe we'll do a stack and a half, roughly, of torches. I'm trying to maximize our carrying at the expense of some of our extra gear. And maybe I could have left, a spare axe or something like that. But that's kind of the gist. This time, as indicated, we want to really make this about our farm. We want that to become our primary focus for spawning additional or maturing additional crops so that we can harvest those. So while this may not be our current top chance for diamonds because we're only exposing 3 more blocks with each removed. It will quickly move us up and down the loop that circles our farms, and while it may not be the highest priority mining, it should be the highest efficiency opportunity for those crops to mature. So we'll do these. We can, put a shot up the middle of this section and see if that has any hidden pockets of diamonds. We've gotten lucky on these two. We've seen a batch of diamond on both this 2 batches on this tunnel and 1 over on the other side, 5 blocks over. But there's still a possibility if we go right up the middle that we would, see pockets that don't extend to either side, and we'll also, improve our odds of clearing this, or not our odds, but we'll work towards clearing this wider space, which we want to keep working in terms of base development and eventually having a larger home. So the real trick here, I didn't bother to look at the coordinates to see how far we have to go to reach the edge of our fields, but all we're, if you think above ground, all we have to do is go from beyond that small hill to our it's 10 total blocks of boundary on our farms, 4 at the far end and 6 at the near side, and then 64 blocks of crops. So as we are just kind of zipping along here, we'll grab that gold and be thankful for it. That's a handy find. So getting some of those things is nice, and having cut here, looking back, that seems like we've gone plenty far, if not already exceeded, and we knew we had our other tunnel here. So this is a fairly quick loop. We're just gonna spin it back and start heading down here 3 high. This will help raise our ceilings, and as I've said in several videos, when I'm creating spaces to live and work in underground, particularly larger spaces where I want mobility to be able to cross them quickly, definitely 3, 4, even 5 blocks high gives a more of a sense of space, and that kind of works in reverse. The smaller a space, the more comfortable it feels to me, even if you leave it at 2 blocks high. And for the upstairs of our little house, when we do get around to improving it, giving it a roof and an upper story, those are places where I don't mind just having a 2 high roof. For one thing, it will keep the appearance of Endermen at bay. They won't be as likely to come in and modify the placement of our blocks by picking things up, or worse, surprising us and becoming aggressive. Now that isn't nearly the threat that it had been to start the game. Even straight up just caught unaware with mostly diamond armor, even without enchantments, we can still usually get enough hits in to take care of them pretty handily and without getting overly damaged. They'll still, in an open field, they'll get a couple hits in, and we'll need a quick meal afterwards to recover from that experience. But ultimately, unless there are lots of them or there's some other mitigating factor, which we do talk about somewhat regularly, because again, that's that's how hardcore worlds go away. It's never just the Enderman that you're fighting. It's when you weren't expecting to fight an Enderman and suddenly find that you're already hungry and down a heart or two and had swapped out your armor temporarily for whatever reason, and all of a sudden now is when the Endermen want to fight you. So that's those are the things you want to avoid, and sometimes a too high roof can keep you a little bit safer. And so for our upper home in a smaller setting, that one's never going to grow to be a larger footprint. When we expand the complex a little bit, ultimately, much further down the road, when we're just doing pleasure building, at that point, if we make let's say a great hall, right? Kind of the idea of a more European feasting area type idea, that may be arched, or a more cathedral type space, a common room. All of those, when the size of the room itself expands, raising up the height of the ceiling is more consistent with the ratio of the space, and you can draw the eye upward by doing that. So we'll do more of that now that we, are not just purely trying to cower in fear. And it's a little ironic because our home upstairs has existed without a roof for all of the length that it's existed, and we've been okay. So far, knock on wood, we haven't had a glut of Endermen showing up to visit, and that's all right by me. I'm certainly willing to let them have their places as long as they're not my places. So hopefully we'll continue to maintain that. So I'm not, really worried about cleaning any of this up. We're very much still in the excavation mode, not the final finishing mode. Again, ultimately, when we get some better quality tools, all of this will very likely be 4, if not 5 blocks high. So lots of ceiling work to do, but just having the 3 high gives us that extra mobility. We can jump, sprint, and move around a little bit quicker. So we'll just finish up this side of this basement room, get it clean, head back upstairs, check our crops, swap some tools, maybe take one more batch over to our villagers if it's daytime, and we still have the pumpkins and I think some of the scattered I think we already took wheat, so may just be pumpkins that we currently have left, but we can do a harvest on sugar and take over some of those if we want. There's loads of possibilities, and certainly plenty of reasons to keep a as full a stock on site there as we possibly can, because once we get our 6 villagers switched over to farmers, they'll have limited stocks for day, but as we're working with the others, we just want to be able to trade with them as often as they're ready to keep them getting experience and keep piling up the emeralds that we have on hand. So let's just drop these 3 together. And again, you're not losing a whole lot if you use up those picks completely. Oh well, but it just seems like a little bit of efficiency to keep them handy. So we got a nice blue sky above, which is great. We worked through the night, and we'll empty our pockets and go see how our fields did while we were working. Drop off the main ones there. I know we haven't significantly cut into our cobble overflow through the little bit of cooking we've done, but every little bit helps. We've had a few more stacks that we've pulled out, and that keeps our chests a little bit more manageable, and also prevents the need for us to waste a lot more time on dealing with storage solutions. Like the chest out here that I've put extra armor in. Anytime that we're not currently doing those types of things is time that we can be using on our villagers, on the hunt for diamonds, those kind of things. So when we're ready to do a more expansive storage, we will hopefully already have a space ready to go. And we certainly made a minimal bit of progress on that just now going downstairs. As I've alluded, we do want to find diamonds, and that last little run certainly wasn't a full-fledged attempt at that. I think the best next chance we have will be to keep the larger room that we just exited, where Always Parents live. We'll move that one block back towards the house, under the stairs, moving back towards the structure. West, I think. Is that I always forget which way the sun's going up and which way I see it as sunset, but you get the idea. We'll move it in a direction, and it will be wonderful. No, we'll move it 1 5-block plus torches section back, and then we'll run another tunnel out this way, because remember, our stairs go all the way down. And if I can pull up the debug screen here for just a moment, if I recall, our first tunnel was at this negative 160 or 175. So we just did, the taking down the ceiling. We went all the way out that way. We came over 5 blocks, so 2, 2, 1 here, and we came back. If we push another 6, then, we'll be somewhere over into here, and we can run another one out. We'll be touching previously unexplored areas of block, and hopefully that will improve our chance for diamond yield. So that's the thinking in regard to our next mining trip. But while we're in the mode, we're going to go ahead and hit the animals one more time. They should be ready to do another breeding cycle. And as we'd said, we're already very good on beef and leather. We'll continue to need leather more so than beef going forward. We could always trade beef to a butcher. I know you can trade chicken and pork. I think some butchers will take beef. I haven't done as much of that. The reason why I'm still continuing with them now is I actually am more concerned about the experience that I get from first the breeding and then the harvesting of the cows than the actual produce of them right at the moment. That is subject to change based on the circumstances, but we are going to need a whole bunch of experience shortly. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the most significant reason for that currently is that we don't have a dark room or some of the other experience farms to just go gather a whole bunch by taking out mobs. And so using our own animals is one way we can do that. Eventually we can get into the nether, and there's a great resource for experience down there as well. Certainly it comes with higher risk, but it doesn't have the time obligation that some of the others did. While we were throwing eggs there, I don't know if you guys noticed, there was a 4-chick egg in the midst of that, the first one we've seen there. So usually, if an egg breaks, 1 chick will fall down, and that's great. I think it's about 1 in 100, or at least it used to be whenever I first still was bothering to look. It was about 1 in 100 eggs would give 4 chicks instead of just the one. So a little good fortune there while we were going. We're going to go ahead and make one run, and we'll check the beets here, see if we've gotten any of those to fully mature. And we have, so these should give us more seeds. And we welcome that development because we still need our beets one are a very good trading crop. Wheat and beets trade fewer individual beets per emerald, and we'll see the actual numbers here in just as we set them up. But carrots and potatoes both have a rate of around 23 to 25, somewhere in there, and wheat and beets are in the low teens. So it's definitely the order of preference is going to be our watermelon for the farmers that actually trade for those, the pumpkins, then the wheat and the beets when we don't need them for our animals, and finally carrots and pumpkins. Of course, potatoes. Of course, the trade-off there is that we'll have so many more carrots and potatoes to work with that we can kind of have a big stock of those and just load them up every time we have a chance to trade. So, and what we'll quickly find is we'll have more pumpkins and melons than they can accept. Their trades won't reset quickly enough, and we'll give them more than they have demand for before we really have a chance to reload and start again. So hopefully in our efforts here, we got our sugar back up. So let's go pay it a visit, and we really should get a chest down here for sugar so that we can keep a full batch ready between harvests. Just have it. Yet another thing, if we're heading over to the villagers, I would just as soon carry a full boat over to load it up and then come back with full batches of books. And the experience, like I said, with the cows and the chickens, stockpiling all that is going to be important, because even if we're not enchanting at the enchanting table, we'll have to buy through the anvil the ability to put those onto our armor or our sword or bow or tools. Anything that we want to enchant, we have to pay for. And so experience and emeralds are both going to be commodities that we want to have a lot of. And of course, we'll need some good fortune as well, because we want to get the right enchantments with as few looks as possible from our librarians, and that is purely a RNG function that we don't have much opportunity to affect. It'll play games with your mind as you're going. It definitely seems as though once you pass something up at a price, you may get it offered again at a higher price just to tease you, or in the opposite sense, if you select something, let's say we early on see efficiency 5, and we decide that 50 emeralds per book is a price we're willing to pay for that. Anytime you do, you settle for a high price, even on a valuable enchantment, it seems to me it's almost certain that you will very shortly after get a new offer for a much discounted price. And these, again, are not healed villagers. These are just, your standard fare. But the game itself, in deciding what enchantment books are available, it's the RNG certainly, but it always plays with you a little bit that you're there's a sentient sitting behind the screen that's laughing at you as you flip through those lecterns trying to get the ones you want. But, tempting as it is to really talk about the enchantment parts of the trades, we're going to have so much time to do that as we're going that I think we'll kind of leave off there. But we hopefully are now closer to having... Well, they certainly didn't do a whole lot while we were gone. So that's okay, though. We can't expect the world. We're going to convert all these that we can into paper, because once we have librarians, they're not going to want sugar, they're going to want paper. So we'll make a paper chest down here, and really we'll probably split out and have another chest down here for the books, the emeralds, and the paper that we'll trade with librarians, and keep our produce back down here for the farmers and other guys. So here we go. And I think since we now have a pretty good stock, I guess we should... Let's wait one more cycle here. Hopefully they'll... I'm going to keep that here over by the workbench so that we can craft more paper. You're still little. There's one. Good. Hey, I don't need those. You guys should help me. That wasn't exactly what I hoped to do. Alright, so we saw hat off. How... I thought we were just looking at a fourth adult, or fifth adult, but I guess not. So here, you guys take all those. Stay busy, my friends. I still think before we get fully going on our farmers, setting them up with trades and desired trade goods, we'll let them keep going. The thing that I kind of forgot is, as they're rolling through offers, I want to have anything to accommodate their needs, and the one I don't still have is potato. As far as I remember, and I haven't looked at anything ever, I don't think, on this, but just in my experience, it's kind of shown that I believe it's only the offered trade for carrots and potatoes at the same time by the villagers will not lead to a later offer for watermelons, if I recall. And I think that doesn't apply the same way when they're offering, let's say, a carrot and a beet. I think beets and wheat are kind of the magic, and some will ask for only one individual crop and offer you something back, or just have one trade. I think those are all safe to get you to watermelons, and I believe that the combination of a carrot or a potato with a wheat or a beet will make any of those lock in. And those are the types of trades we want. I would prefer that every single villager farmer that I have, all 6 of them, each take watermelon, because that is the best item per emerald trade that we can do, and having a full complement of traders that want watermelons will definitely help us when it comes to piling up the emeralds and getting as many as possible, because once we get that axe covered in silk touch, and we're getting 2 stacks of 64 melons every time we harvest, those are going to be pretty plentiful for the amount that they can accept before they're out of trades. As I said, each day villagers use up their demand or their capacity to trade for a good. So, you start trading with them, they're happy, and will keep buying. And depending on the item, that threshold can raise and lower. But with melons, it they don't want more than, it's not even a full stack, I don't think. So while you can get quite a few emeralds per melon, you can't just unload stack after stack after stack of melon on the traders. And that's another reason why I want as many opportunities to trade them with each visit as I can get. So if we can get all 6 villagers to accept melons when they've reached that level, really good for us. And of course, as we've continually said all along, we can't do anything about melons until we have silk touch on an axe anyway. And we've got some more steps to go. We're sitting on 3 diamonds, but I think the immediate priority, aside from boots, is to make a diamond pick. After we're fully armored up in diamonds, the next thing that we'll want is the diamond pick and or the enchantment. No, I'm already catching myself. We can't make the enchantment table without the diamond pick. It needs that extra little bit of we need the diamond pick to get the obsidian, and the recipe for the enchanting table calls the obsidian. I'm not sure why that's so difficult for me to articulate at the moment, but it could be that the coffee I brewed is still sitting beside me untasted here since we got started. It's always a likely culprit. We'll blame the lack of caffeine, but yeah, we ultimately have lots to do, and diamonds are essential to that, as our experience levels. So we're getting there. Just wanted to kind of lay out what the farming villagers will start, what we'll be looking for as we start to set up their trades a little bit. And the reason why we came back and wanted to do another batch here before we really started pressing on that is, one, that the babies that they have need to grow up, and 2, the beets that we have in the field need to keep growing, because I want to have at least a stack of beets, if not more, to lock in trades for beets with some of the villagers. Again, I'm not interested in buying things from farmers. I purely want them to sell to and grow those stacks of emeralds that we're going to need. So, all things being equal, I'll re-roll the farmers until the time when I can get them to offer me exactly what's going to make us the most emeralds. And beets and wheat will certainly play into that if we can coordinate it so that Each of those then has either a carrot or a potato with it, which again I think is all still possible. It's been a long time since I've set villagers, and it's been a longer time since I've really looked at the what the farmer trades are really supposed to look like. If I even I know I've studied way back some of the librarian trades trying to figure out how those worked, but the villagers, I started going, oh, hey, you want both, both these and that? That's awesome. And only through multiple worlds did I begin to realize that, oh, these are the factors that seem to make some later level farmers not want to buy melons, and these seem to be the ones that do. And unfortunately, you don't know really, other than trusting memory, which can be tricky. You don't really know what their full complement of options will be until you've progressed them through trading levels. When we first start trading, they'll be a novice. They'll, I think, journeyman, expert, and master. Maybe there's an apprentice in there too. And again, they level up just as other games and NPCs do. I don't wonder why I was so quick to drop that torch. So you'll get new trade offers as they attain each level, and like everything else, the moving through that first level practically happens before you know it. Getting them all the way to master with the farmers particularly doesn't take very long. You do so much bulk trading that they move along pretty quickly. The librarians, it takes much longer, and unless they want paper, which is going to be pure chance, because all we're looking for out of them is really a good enchantment book. So paper desire becomes very secondary out of our librarians. Eventually, there will be enough trades out there that some of them will, and that's where we'll supplement our diamonds a little bit by adding paper trades as well. Those guys will have a chance to level up over time, but most of our librarians never will, because if the most common enchantments that we're going to need, efficiency, unbreaking, silk touch, and mending, even those, when we're buying them at the most needed levels, don't excuse me, sorry, I'm kind of looking at this too. They just don't have the opportunity to get to high levels, so we don't often see the full extent of their possible traits as we're getting them clarified. If any of that makes sense. Again, I kind of got distracted there by the waterfall. Wasn't fully thinking, but you don't have as good a chance of getting master librarian trades as you do with the farmers. And that's okay, frankly, we don't need it. Some of them may offer a second trade for enchanted books as they develop, but for one thing, it will be randomized, and we won't have any further chance to try for others. We're locked in by our original enchanted books, so it's pretty uncommon that any of those later enchanted book offers will be ones that we want. There are a few items that librarians offer later that may be of value for specific projects or things like that, but by and large, once we have a villager locked in with the enchanted book trade that we want, that's all we're using them for. And if they happen to want paper, great. We'll give them paper just to get more emeralds out of them. But we're coming back to the one and only book that they offer and we want, and that's their function. So again, we'll have lots of time to work on those. It's just it's kind of fun getting to the point where those things can happen, and we can see a time not too distant in the future where we'll have some enchantments. But it's so odd to me. Usually around this time, I will be slowly working to build a darkroom spawner. I will be pushing those enchantments, and like I said, 50 is kind of what I target for first rounds of enchanting, just so I have the best possibility of getting max enchants on whatever my first items are. And I do think I haven't seen anything that directly confirms or denies this, but I've always had the feeling that with your very first enchant, you get a little bonus luck. That one always seems to go about as well as you could hope. You rarely will you just junk an item on attempt number 1 to enchant it, and that's good, because at that point it's such a premium. But if you do, or if there's other items that you're then trying to enchant as well, you want the opportunity that if the game's going to give you a second or a third enchant on whatever the item is that you've selected, you want those to be, you want as many as possible from the enchanting table, and you want them to hopefully be high value enchantments. So for a hypothetical, say we were going to try for our sword, and it wouldn't, I think if we were going to, it would very likely be that the enchantment that we saw advertised would be most likely a sharpness 3 or 4, or a high looting 2 or 3. Those would be the things that we would maybe decide, yep, the sword is the item we're going to want to go. We're going to be comparing everything before that first enchant, and usually you will at least see something with a prot 3 for a piece of armor that would be worthwhile, or something along those lines that would make me willing to accept them over just rushing to put a low sharpness or something less appealing than looting or sharpness onto a sword, right? I'm not going to just blindly put Unbreaking 3 on a diamond sword when I know, at some point I'll have a sword that'll have Unbreaking and Mending, and I'll want those books anyway. So those are the kind of decisions we'll make, and we'll use a level 50 of experience again to make sure that we have the best chance to get 2 or 3 different enchantments, excuse me for the hiccup, on whatever item it is that we want to try our luck on. And it is a little bit of a luck. You never know fully what you're going to get, and even particularly if sometimes, let's say it is that sword, and we see that it's going to have a sharpness 4, and that's a really nice enchantment. That means any damage, anything that we attack will have an increased attack damage based on the enchantment when we hit it with our sword. So very useful and good, and always being able to deal more damage in a fight is is one of the top priorities of a adventuring type game, no matter what format it's in. So that'd be really great. And so you see that as the one you're going to get, and you have 50 experience levels, so you're going to get something else as well, probably. And then you roll it, and you find Bane of Arthropods, which is probably the most laughed at enchantment in the game. You can kill spiders better. Well, great. You're not really out there dedicating a sword just to hunting spiders. So those are things that can happen. And at that point, I'd rather get rid of all the enchantments, use the grindstone, and clear them and take back what experience I can salvage, because I'm going to want to have some enchantments are mutually exclusive, so you can't have smite and sharpness. Smite is a type specific damage, which says instead of generically hitting all mobs for more damage with each stroke, you're going to hit undead mobs specifically, but deal even more damage than you would with sharpness. So there are some that are mutually exclusive and trade off. The other one is for bows. Mending and infinity are exclusive. So if you have a bow and you put mending on it, you'll never be able to later apply the infinity enchantment to it as well. And that's kind of a shame, because the resources needed to make bows are fairly cheap, and you'll never there's only 4 or so enchantments that we would want on a fully enchanted bow when we're all done with it. Unbreaking, maybe 5. Power, punch, and unbreaking, infinity, and flame, I think, are the ones that we would put onto a bow. So if you have all those, instead of the mending, which I think I just said, instead of the mending, we'd rather have infinity, which means all we ever need is to carry a single stack, or even a single arrow. We won't consume arrows when we shoot. And that's why I said, chickens aren't as great a priority once we get that. Once we have harvested enough feathers to make, a stack or 2 of arrows, that should carry us through to the point where we've got infinity on a bow. And then once we have our infinity bow, even if we max enchant it, we'll still have enough room where over time we can take it to an anvil with just a plain unenchanted bow and combine them to repair it, paying for levels as we go, and you get 1 or 2 of those before it becomes too expensive to continue to do. And at that point, we would retire the bow and just, hopefully by then, and I've never had an issue with this, you'll already have another bow that you've had an opportunity to prepare for use. Got all the enchantments, got it all ready to go. So mending does not become an issue for bows, and the infinity is well worth the effort to get that set up. So sadly, no diamonds in that trip. It was we made another loop. We got to talk through some enchanting stuff, but did not come across another pocket. Now we can shoot that tunnel out further, and we can still run the ones up the middles. But as I said, I kind of like the potential that's there when you can attempt to see more. Even just going up that extra 5, you kind of saw that drop over the waterfall that I climbed up and put a torch into. You're gonna find new little caves and things you have new potential for things to open up into the area. So rather than just going up and down the middle on the off chance that we find a hidden pocket, we'll continue to prefer a larger area, and that's kind of the diamond game, and why they were so iconic as a block type for so long, because they can be so random, even when you're doing really well, until you get some fortune and can kind of maximize your recovery of them. You are at the mercy of RNG as to whether you're going to encounter some. And, I know there have been some worlds where it's like, am I ever going to find a diamond? When you're first starting out with just those iron picks, you don't have any extra armor, and you're diving deep and fingers crossed open, and nothing. That I can try the patience. And that, that's what makes games like Minecraft rewarding when you do have success on, in a hardcore world, or when there are longer, grindier processes. It's kind of nice when the RNG isn't necessarily right on your side. You get a good feeling when you do find the thing you've been hunting for. Say enchanted golden apple, right? We were so lucky on that first world that we would have very quickly felt, all right, yeah, we've got our one. We don't need to hunt for them, and desert temples would have kind of been an afterthought as we continued to work through the world. And yay, we found another one, that kind of stuff. Well, I will always get excited if I find one. They're that valuable. And, right now, having what I think we have like 6 golden apples just as a reserve backup, having that many enchanted golden apples on our toolbar as an emergency backup is really, you feel pretty robust if things start to go wrong, and you can throw down a enchanted apple. There isn't a whole lot you won't be able to survive if you reach that point. So there are things, that none of that can help if you do fall into the void. None of that will help if you aren't kind of like that first world. And granted, you'd usually have better armor by that time, but yeah, if you're not expecting the attack to come, you haven't really braced yourself for it. It can do a lot of damage and get you. As we've, there's only so many times you can talk it through, but we're just resetting the beats here. Beats are our next priority, and really what's holding us up on the villagers at this point. I walked around the potatoes and the wheat, and we'll do another loop of the fields here. I think when we're working out here, most of these stay loaded, but it certainly has the feel that as you walk along and through, you maybe give some of these stragglers a better chance. And both the wheat and the potatoes now kind of feel to me like they're close enough. If we needed to, we could go ahead and harvest these, and I wouldn't feel bad about any potential loss that we might suffer. And I guess we don't. Taking what we do have, I want to dump off the beets that we do have. Oh, those are redstone, not beets. So we got probably enough that we can on our next visit can start. But I'd like to give, like I said, the potatoes and the wheat and maybe the carrots enough time to finish up on this round. And that may be the next day that we'll harvest those couple crops, have that next little load, just that much extra, because by the time we're wrapped up over there the next time, we should have farmers that are employed in the trades we care about, and be ready to start trading. We talked one time about the animals and freezing them like that. Just did it inadvertently, where if you show them their desired food and then take it out of your, out of your hand, switch to something else in your toolbar, they'll kind of momentarily pause, and that, while it's usually more of a little bit of an annoyance, okay, now come on back to me. I want you guys around here. We're going to try to feed. If you're trying to get in or out of your farm, that can be a help. If we do that, they'll sort of stop and they'll run rogue a little bit, but not too quick. If you practiced it a few times, you can kind of pull them away from a gate, even if there's a big crowd of animals. Get them pulled away or moving away. Drop whatever it is, and move, switch hands to your bucket of water or any other thing in your toolbar, and then run back to the gate and get out before any of them can follow you out. It's one of those little games you just play as you're going about your chores to make sure, hey, how far away from the gate can we keep you before we get back out? The way that game breaks, or any of these do, with some regularity, is when you get so caught up in the feeding and you have so many animals that you just feed through your entire stock of available food, and then you don't have anything to draw their attention and pull them away from the door. So those kind of things happen too. I'm going to try to remember, my hunger bar is growing, and I don't think yet, despite having made some variety foods back in the house, that we've actually tasted one or two specifically. So we'll give that a chance. This one, still made it. It was close though. I probably would have left the cows alone, having fed the chickens, but we didn't. It got dark and we didn't have a chance to throw our eggs. So now you can see how chickens can go pretty quick when you end up, just in the course of feeding them, getting 5, 6, a full inventory of eggs out of the pen as well. And you start throwing those, and while they may not all be super productive, with 5 stacks, you're likely to get a half dozen to a dozen chickens out of that, and that adds up over time. Each time you do it, you're just getting those for nothing. It's a good way to get a big supply of chickens. So as we said, we can come back over here and see if we can add to our food count. The reason, and again, usually when we start doing this, because I'm not checking these off on any kind of a list on my notepad, and I have to find where it is. Okay, so we've eaten 8 of 39 foods. That kind of puts into perspective how few we actually have gotten through yet. But we had made these 4 mushroom stews. That's another one that we can add to our list. So boom, we'll do that. The reason I thought of it and wanted to is because those mushroom stews, as we talked about, don't stack. I'll probably keep one, and now we'll know that we've already done it anyway, but I'd rather just get those bowls used up and stacked back in so we don't fill up that chest unnecessarily. But yeah, we're, keep making progress in the back of our mind, even though it's not our primary focus yet on the advancements. At some point, once we've beaten the dragon and we've kind of gotten to that later game where there's not as much of a designed flow, that's when we'll probably take a close look at the lists of advancements and see if we can knock some out. Just going through the list, and the ones that we haven't happened to get, we'll do a little more targeting on. A lot of that is accelerated by the elytra and having the ability to fly. So we would prefer to get that. Once again, I've just totally given myself over to the thrill of watching potatoes explode out of the ground, and haven't done these stripe by stripe, but it doesn't matter terribly much. We can now run 4 rows backwards and not be too much slower. It's probably very, very minimal difference in time either way, but it I think, again, this is why we endured the amount of time it took to set everything up, was being able to just non-stop harvest these rows without a lot of twisting, without a lot of turning, without trying to constantly line up the rows that would be in a square, and I know you can plant them running sideways and all that. I just think the front and back is as quick as anything. You more reliably hit all the tiles without skipping over one or anything like that, and so that's kind of the way I've gone about it. And it didn't seem that we completely overfilled our inventory. That we had a few spots, so a little short of completely maxing out on potatoes while we were doing that, but potatoes and carrots, again, and it may play into the game design decisions around the ability to trade for melons, but those 2 crops actually get impacted by the fortune enchantment, which is another super high value enchantment, but it doesn't have the same priority for me as Silk Touch, because once we get it, you don't need it as often, or to apply it to as many things. More than any Silk Touch, I want to have a pick that has Fortune 3 on it, and we want that for diamonds, particularly, emeralds and other stuff too, but absolutely in the case of diamonds, especially right now, if we had a Fortune 3 pick and found a vein of diamonds, let's say there were 4 or diamond blocks sitting in the rock, and we were going to break them. Instead of getting just 4 diamonds, we could get up to, I think, 3 per, so that 4 could turn into anything up to 12, and, likely not going to max out on each one of those, but, it's a big help. And when you consider that sometimes you'll find 8 to 10 of those diamond blocks in the stone as you're mining, all of a sudden, you're talking 25 to 40 type numbers, which are huge. All of a sudden, you have that many diamonds, you got every tool you could immediately want, and plenty to spare. So it doesn't take much, but Fortune 3 is huge. And once I get it on a pick, my next priority is oddly to get it on a hoe, because when you put it on a hoe and do the potatoes and the carrots, you will get much more produce out of your fields when you till them. Now, you can use Fortune on wheat and beets as well, and that will get you more seeds, which seems just crazy to me. Why you would ever want more? I mean, it's almost like they were having a laugh when they put that in. Hey, what can we do that would just drive people crazy? I know. Let's give them more of the one thing that everyone in that's ever played Minecraft has had too many of: grass seeds. They would love to, have stacks and stacks and stacks of grass seeds. It would be wonderful. Let's give them that. I would love to share a cup of coffee with some of those guys and see if that was ever discussed in a staff meeting at some point on a boring Tuesday morning or something. Hey, what do you think of putting Fortune on a hoe so that they get more seeds? Yeah, that sounds like fun. We'll be laughing. Anyway, let's keep knocking out these beats. We are very close to filling our field now, and that's absolutely wonderful. Just take the wins here where we can get them. Man, time is flying by. Here I thought we would already be at the point of trading for books, and we're still finishing up here. But we've made a ton of progress. Don't discredit these kinds of functions in a game like Minecraft. When you're out there playing in your worlds, it's all progress, and having, just like I talked about, having done all this and taken the time to turn these fields, we're going to be able to more quickly have stacks of emeralds and put those back into the circulation, so to speak, so that come on, Carrot. So that, rather than being delayed waiting to buy more books when we have the trades offered from librarians that we want, because we haven't grown our fields, we just aren't at a point where we have enough emeralds to afford them, we're shifting that and saying, when we get to that point, while it may take us a little bit longer to get that started, when it does, we'll have that many more emeralds because we'll have had many more trades with the farmers because we took this time. So it's all progress. And if you can find a way to make this relaxing or, zen-like or whatever, however you want to describe it, where you can get some enjoyment out of doing these tasks too, which I certainly always have. I think that only helps, right? You're getting the same escape that Minecraft provides. You get the same opportunity to consider what you can do next while you're working on it, or what will help. And I think that's a perfectly good way to use this time in game, and I hope you share that feeling. So again, when we have that fortune hoe, we'll come down this row, and let's do the example here on the next one. Well, we could have looked at the first, but once we finish seeding these, we'll drop off all the carrots that we have, and we'll just do a row. And we'll try to remember late in the game, and probably by the time we get there, I'll be talking about it again, and we'll just not use the hoe once and compare it then to using the hoe, because we'll have 4 rows to play with. But we're going to look at how many carrots we get from this row after we've run back down it and planted the 64 that we have in hand. So, and again, we'll probably do this again, but this will help to show how even more efficient these can become once we have the power of enchants on our various tools. So we had 2 full and a third mostly full stack of carrots. Not too bad. Certainly better than right now. If we do a row of wheat, we get 64 wheat if it's fully mature. If we do beets, it's the same deal. Those are a 1-to-1 plant to crop. So even without the fortune on the hoe, potatoes and carrots are giving us, almost 2 2/3, and really it's 3 because we use one of those to reseed, where we have to use the produce to do that. So if we'd looked before we walked backwards down that row of carrots and planted the carrots, we would have had 3 full stacks plus 45. But if you cancel out the ones you needed to keep the crop going to replant, that's still 2 2/3 stacks of produce out of each row of that crop. And then if you add Fortune 3 to that and get even more, well, yeah, all of a sudden you've got so much to offer those villagers. And with 6, hopefully, like I said, we can get the full array of villagers who want both one of carrots or potatoes and one of beets or wheat. And I don't know if that's entirely possible or if it will become unbearably rare in terms of trying to get them to offer those trades. But I think they, if I recall, they do exist, and I think they're kind of locked in those pairs, and which way they go, I don't recall. Maybe it's carrots and beets and wheat and potatoes. Don't quote me on that. I'm just vague memories of distant time, but whatever those types of pairs are would be ideal. That will ensure that we always have a market for those carrots and potatoes, and will also guarantee that when we do have the ability to harvest our melons, we can sell those too. So when all that comes together, we are going to be in awfully good shape. And this is why, as I've been playing, I really think this presents an alternative to what is very universally displayed in videos and streams as the requirement that you push mob farming XP as almost an automatic need in the beginning of the game. And this playthrough, or how this is beginning to shape, why do I want those seeds? This is beginning to just show that there are different ways of getting to that point of equipment, and I really think, even with the time we're spending, I don't think it's that much slower than it would be to sit and, if you think it's slow watching as we create a farm, standing around at the bottom of a not terribly efficient darkroom spawner on a stream and just waiting for it to fill so that we can chop creepers, that's not riveting entertainment either. So you do have to pick your poison a little bit as you go. Now, we're sitting here. I think we want to load up produce, because I think we're close to going back and hoping that our villagers are ready to grow up and take some responsibility. I did want to do the beets inside. Remember that. Carrots. Let's get what wheat we have. Take all that. Then 7 and 3 is 10. So boom, 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 boom. And before I goof that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, nice full load. Carrots win. Okay, so we've got our pockets just bulging with bulk produce. It's very difficult to walk. I mean, considering the number of pumpkins, that alone is staggering. When I was in end of high school and college years, my summer job was that I'd gotten a job for a gentleman who worked with his high school buddy, and he was, my friend's parents' age, but his buddy was a farmer, and he had, I think, been in real estate, and was kind of that high commission type life where your money's not. It's very good. You do very well, but it's certainly not guaranteed month to month, and you have to constantly be waiting for that next gig. Well, you get to a point, as I understand it, in particularly real estate and some of those fields where things like that begin to drive themselves a little bit early on. You have to be that hungry. I got to go make these deals and make contacts and all that. Well, in any kind of a sales job, if you're reputable and people respect the way you conduct your business, over time they'll spread word of mouth and let others know, hey, this is somebody that helped me out, did a really good job. I trust them. They didn't rip me off. They did what they said they were going to do and delivered on their promises. So I think you should give them a try. Well, that kind of stuff is pretty valuable in a professional career, particularly in sales. And he'd reached a point where his own kids were heading off to college and all that. He needed a reset, a boost, and so with his farmer high school buddy's help, he said, "Hey, let's do this idea." And part of it was directly selling it at the little stands, set up around on corners that you guys, depending on the parts of the world where you're in, a fresh market kind of deal. But it was direct from the farmer. They would bring in the stuff, and for the late summer and harvest season, primarily he was selling sweet corn, and we'd have a few stands out around the suburbs, and you'd show up, if you were a family in the area, and on your way home you'd grab a half dozen ears of corn, or a dozen, and throw them on the grill when you got home. That, by the way, is the best way to do sweet corn. I know my name is Hambbage, but in addition to ham and cabbage, I also love to grill up some sweet corn if you get it fresh and ready to go. And maybe someday we'll talk some cooking secrets. But that's did we not have a bed? Why did you guys not look like you could happen there? Yeah, is right. Oh, because you're probably stuck on the fence. But yeah, you guys don't have enough extra beds anymore. So that's a good problem to have. I'm going to do that. Now we learned that trick. So we have 8 villagers. Fantastic. And that was why we saw the 2 villagers. They had the little hearts come out of their head that would have normally made a additional young villager. But when the game checked, there were no additional beds. And if you don't have an available unclaimed bed, no new villagers will produce or pop. So that's kind of what we saw there, was just an example of that game mechanic calculating. But that's good, because this is exactly where we want to be. Now, we're kind of waiting for just a little bit longer while we hope that 2 of those will grow up and we can lock them in as farmers as well. Again, we have 6 compost bins, and unclaimed, as soon as any of the rest of these grow up, if they're inside this area, they will say, oh, hey, available job, and they'll take it, and those will become our farmers. At that point, and it'll probably have to be tomorrow night, if all goes well, and by that point, we'll probably have more beds, we can start more breeding, all that good stuff, but we'll need to identify which of those guys in here are unemployed, break those beds, have available beds over in these rooms for them to move to, and we'll just open the gate, and they'll go, oh, I don't have a bed anymore, and they'll run off and find the next available one, come into these rooms. So by game day tomorrow, we will be cooking with gas and ready to roll. No, I didn't bring my bed. Fortunately, we have a whole bunch, so we'll just put this down and break it when we're done, because we don't want to confuse them. So break that, put it away, out of sight, out of mind. Now we want to give them the day and hope that more grow up. And while we do that, we're going to try to push through. Now this could backfire a little bit, because as I feared, it always just totally expected. I can't believe that was just a little cavern like that. Once you start going, maybe we'd fill that in with granite or something. I don't know. Why would we find just a hole of 2 blocks? But as soon as you got little villagers running around and you can't ensure that they stay safe, it must be like being a parent. You, as much as you want to, you just can't ensure that your kids aren't going to go and skin their knee or bonk their head or some of those kind of things as they're running around, even if you'd want to. But with our little villagers here, we don't have any way of keeping them corralled. But I don't want to just stand here while we're waiting for them to reach the age of employment. So instead, we'll carefully work to get a new set of private residents, because along the way here, it's going to start. Our need for them is going to start coming quicker and quicker. The other thing to remember, audience, feel free to remind me in the comments if we get that far, and I haven't done it yet, but we need to make some lanterns the next time we're back at home. Break up some of our iron ingots, get them converted over into nuggets, and then use the nuggets with torches to continue our pattern of torches. Didn't really need to have an extra stack of cobble, but while we're doing that and thinking about it, let's come back over here. Again, this is very slow progress, but we don't need it to be much more than that. And we probably already have more than we need in terms of raw stone for this room, this build, depending on the floors and the ceilings, the actual tiles that we need to replace. If we find ones that are, in the midst of a gravel pit or something like that, or dirt that we need to swap out, or we just accidentally break them like that one, then we'll obviously use a little bit quicker. But until we get Silk Touch, there's no harm in having a few extra of the just generic stone blocks on hand. They definitely, between making stone bricks and just looking generally good if you're filling holes and things back in as you work, I think it's tough to find a reason why you can't use more. So we'll keep at least this furnace cooking those while it's idle. And this is going to be our dark oak pillar. Like that. That one's already set. This is going to be a stone, as is that. I don't know why I felt not to use my shovel there. And if you feel it's quicker to just blow through and replace everything with that stone, certainly workable. I just like and I did put stone there instead of the oak. I forgot we can swap to that. So let's get these switched. And this, we won't have need for that for a little bit, but it always feels better to be a little productive as you're waiting for game mechanics to progress. And it looks like we have at least one new farmer. Yeah, we got three little guys still, one new farmer, and once that last one pops, and again, we don't have to sit and watch it because we'll still need them to go to sleep before we can really start resetting them. But we'll be able to begin to prepare the individual rooms with lecterns and beds for them, so that when they do sleep, we can get them happily settled. And we just need one more to grow up. The two little ones can go claim the beds in the other rooms without being full-fledged adults. We just need that job to be claimed is the real priority. And you can see there, it kind of gets a reaction out of me, because whenever I see those hearts and then the little failure fire thunderstorm cloud, I go, oh no, what's wrong? It's broken. But we know that's happening, so still sort of by design. The other thing that we're going to be able to do here while we're kind of being idle is go visit the spruce trees up above us on the mountains, I think, and we need a few more gates. And I don't think I even had spruce back at the base, so that's something we can do with our remaining daylight here today. Let's drop that. Oh, never mind. Look at all this spruce. Forgot. Doing better than I thought it was. So, just drop these off here. We got to do ceiling. Can do that in this room. And let's get this stuff pushed back and just extend our stone floor out a little bit further so we don't have dirt as a welcoming thing. Our lanterns will eventually improve that light. We got wood up in each of those so they don't look funny. And we've still got, we put away the slabs, so we'll have to replace those. And boom, boom, boom. Need slabs. We got the gate in. Oh, sir. I'm glad to see that you grew up. Oh, and we have a cat, too, which is kind of nice in terms of, we talked about the breeding of cats and taming all the varieties. Cats spawn in villages, and once you have enough villagers together, this begins to constitute a village, which is why I wanted this not in my base, because getting the outcast trait will make us ultimately unable to. Oh, look at you. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess we still need him to go in. Let's see if we can get you in. Go in. Go in. Good. Excellent. Okay. Now, we do have 6 farmers already, and we've got our adults. Let's come over here. Nobody panic. We've got plenty of time. I'm going to toss this garbage stuff. The cobble can be distinct because we'll keep cooking it. This here. We need 2 beds. And we need 2 lecterns. And we'll start here, I think. Now, the reason why I hadn't wanted the beds early was that we we had that one guy that wouldn't go to bed. We were trying to break him. There was a confusion on the other one that was stuck on the gate. All that stuff yesterday for me, a couple videos ago, that was driving us wild about the villagers. We now should be able to use to bring them back, and this is perfect. So they're going to bed. We've got the one guy still stuck. We'll now prioritize getting fish, because now that we have cats kind of contained in here, it should be fairly easy to not let them run too far away and get them to eat some fish from our hand and eventually become tamed. So that will be great. So if this works as I hope, we're going to go in, we're going to break with these gates open. We're going to find the two guys that are unemployed, and they are this one and this one. Okay, so now we'll give them a chance. We'll close these gates. Excuse me, sir. Sorry, I know that's uncomfortable, but I dodged your feet. So now they've gone and relocated and found new beds. Now, he may still be a bit of a challenge because he's little, but this guy, when he wakes up, one, he won't be able to get out of his new home, which he'll be happy about because he's got a little privacy now. He doesn't have to share his bed with anybody that won't go to bed and just wanders around in circles. The kids won't be jumping on him. But when he wakes up, he'll also go, oh, look at this electron. I can get a job too. And then he'll be set. So that's perfect. Now what I want to do is I want this farmer to move over here so that, not that it's a big deal, but I would prefer to have all my farmers content to grab beds that are in, just in a pattern that makes sense. We'll now add back the two. The next time that they wake up, when we see hearts emerge out of their heads, instead of getting the little lightning bolt and thunder, they will breed two more young villagers because they have two beds available and accessible in this room. And each time that they've done that, we can come back in and know that it's these two beds we have to break. Boom. Those will then move on and claim beds in the other individual spots. There will continually be some wrangling as they grow up outside their own rooms. We can deal with that, though. We've done incredibly well to get everybody to this point, and now we're going to load up, and our next pumpkins won't matter because those are a second tier trade. Is there anything else I'm gonna hate myself for doing this later because I'll forget all this stuff, but these tools, we'll just keep minimal tools. Our arrows, I'm not gonna risk not having my golden apples. We'll save a few torches here. I just want to carry as much as I can produce wise so that we can start these trades with the farmers first and get them set up. I'll grab these emeralds not because I really need them right out of the gate, but I do want to have a space in my inventory for them, so that I can so if I jam everything else up with produce, there's still a spot where they can conduct the trades. It can be a little bit annoying to not have that. So let's do that many wheat. And again, it only takes one trade of any type to lock a villager. After you've traded with a villager, you can break their workstation as many times as you like, and they will never never give up that trade, if that makes sense. That they are then effectively locked in. So if I find one of these guys and he wants to buy carrots and beets, if that's a thing, I hope it is, but if he's willing to do that, then we'll be able to reposition his, if we wanted to, his compost bin and set him up somewhere else or put him in a boat and move him or anything like that. And no matter where we plopped him down, as long as he had access to, hey, look at that. We got our first golem. I don't know why you're stuck. I'm not going to make you mad, but I hope you deal with it. I think it's the slab. Why are you stuck, dude? Was it the cat? Do we have any iron? I feel bad, man. I want you to... I got nothing for you. I don't even have iron ore yet. We'll try to fix you up, man. You took a beating. Dude. Do we care about your mobility? We can take this back one, and then you can get around the step. I don't know, you're kind of a test case. I do feel bad that you got so wrecked. Just by a step, you look kind of awful, dude. I'll bring back iron next time, but you're wasting our time. We gotta talk with these guys. So right out of the gate, perfect. This is one of the ones that I want. So we're just gonna put a stack of iron in. This will make 3 trades. If I click on the emerald, boom, and now 4 is left. We get an advancement because we just traded. And as you can see, just doing that once got him almost all the way to novice. Boom. We do it again. Now, the green bar is filled. So he's ready to advance. So when we stop, he's going to walk around. And then see these little purple swirlies? They pop out. And this is going to be the real tough part, is keeping these guys straight. Now I'm worried. Oh no, it was wheat and beets, and we didn't want that. Man, this one's going to be wild. I don't know what he's going to offer. I got too excited and clicked too quickly. And of course, then I made it worse because I just went. But unless things really change, we're going to live with him being that one off, and we'll see what it develops to. Now, I think, man, if we have to reset, go make a sacrificial farmer island with a bunch of boated farmers, I'm gonna feel terrible. But I think this would eventually get us melons, but I don't particularly want that. This is the worst. Now you just get this doubt that rages, and we don't know which of these associate to which guy. Mini disaster. Okay, now where's the guy? What did you get now? Just wheat. I may not have quite prepared for this as well as I had. This, fingers crossed, if we get this guy built up to a level and he doesn't have pumpkins, it's going to be trouble. No, I'm clicking on a carrot. I want that. Shift click on the trade that you want to make to fill the window as many as possible. And as you can see, carrots, it only took 2 stacks of the wheat to get that one guy up to novice. This guy, it took a little more. So now you get your bubbles. No! Oh, this is, man, this is tough. Okay. Those 2 are trouble. We don't want you. we'll try you now, I guess. Oh man, we're blowing through our beats. Okay. Now, you... Should... Am I just making this artificially dumb? Are these guys really gonna offer pumpkins next? Why am I not seeing pumpkins? Come here, you. You want carrots. I don't know if we can get you all the way up to your next level just with carrots. But we're gonna try. I'm not wasting any more beats. Man, this is silly, but let's... I gotta know. Okay, now you're gonna get more bubbles. So no pumpkins, but melons. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's not a disaster, and because the other guys have pies and apples too, I hope that at least all of those, and I'd rather have melons eventually than pumpkins anyway. They're going to give us a better price, so that's okay. Because looking at this guy, looking at this guy. So he's already on discount because we've traded with him. We've raised him up 2 levels here in a day. So he's really happy, and he's already lowered his prices. So except for carrots, which we traded to him a whole bunch, he's saying, hey, if you have beets, I'll actually give you an emerald for 1 less beet, and the same with melons. I'll give you 1 emerald per 3 instead of per 4. And, at regular prices, that means that for each row of melons that we harvest with Silk Touch, we'll get 16 emeralds back. Not too bad when you consider that, we can get two batches of melons at a time and really rack up full stacks of emeralds pretty quick. The other bonus here, while we've been kind of worrying about what the trades would lead to, is we're already up to level 45 now. So now let's review. He's got carrots, beets, and melons. He's novice. We can still change him. You got wheat beets. Obviously, we don't care about beets anymore. We got 3 people already wanting beets, and that's a lot. But I think all 3 of these will eventually want melons too. I'm pretty sure that none of them are going to want pumpkins though, and I want to get some of these back. I think we'll go grab carrots, and we'll take him as carrots. Because we only have 1 so far, and I'd like to have 2 each with carrots and or potatoes. So where's our carrot only guy? Not you. You? Not you. You. Not you. You. No. You. Carrots. Boom. You are a carrot guy. I believe we can name these guys, and if we do that, then we'll maybe give them, initials or names that indicate what they are to help keep track of them. Good. Okay, so he's a pumpkin guy. So carrots and pumpkins here. Awesome. We've got the 3 that want some combination of beets and either wheat or carrots. So we have 2 carrots, 3 beets, 1 wheat, and now we want our last 2 to eventually offer potatoes, because we'll end up with just potatoes coming out of our ears if we don't. And If one of those happened to be potatoes and wheat, I'd be all right with that. That would give us good balance. But honestly, if they were both just flat potatoes, I would be okay with that too. Now, what we won't know, and that's why I wanted to lock in all the ones that I wanted, so that we would have, because now we're just gonna go through and we're gonna pick up all 6 of the compost bins, and as you can see, only the 2 that we haven't locked lost their jobs. The others are locked in. Now, we'll reset those. Of course it's nighttime. But that, despite the panic, and it was, because I didn't understand that, and there are some combinations that will let you trade both pumpkins and melons, and I don't think we've quite hit on those yet, but hopefully, a couple will. But even if they ultimately don't, having the melons on 3 of those would be worth it. We'll take that down the road. That will get us a lot of emeralds going forward. I think we kept them too busy, but we also are going to want to feed again so that we get some new guys growing up. And wonderfully, I don't know how they pulled the old switcheroo here, but we did get a librarian, and he's securely in his home. And we got a unemployed but still sleeping gentleman here set up for that. So maybe tomorrow get you. But yeah, you're looking good with your little headband hat thing. Sorry to push you up so that you're doing the neck plank like your predecessors. But anyway, let's plop down our own bed. Now we don't need to wait through the night as much. So we'll just sleep. We'll break our bed to avoid the confusion. We want to come back in here and always, until we get everybody else up, you can see on their belts here, the brown we've traded with, they're the apprentices. The gentleman that just hasn't even realized he can have a job yet, I don't know what. Go get a job. Get a job. Why won't you get a job? I don't understand. Anyway, the ones with no belt, they are the untraded gold. This doesn't need to be this difficult. Is it you? No. Is it you? No. You. Potatoes. Perfect. Hold on, sir. And like I said, potatoes don't do a real great job. But again, he's going to kick pumpkins, and I'm pretty sure that when these 2 are set, and we should be able to get him up to that next level because we've now got pumpkins. And how? So let's pumpkin up. Finally, that other guy wised up. Good job. So now 6 out of 64. That's not quite what melons are. Did we get you high enough to? Yeah, so he's going to pop. And good. So he's going to take both pumpkins and melons. And I'm pretty confident that our potato friend will as well if we can find him. Potato friend. Potato friend. So we'll do the same thing with him. And melons and pumpkins. So this is... disaster was narrowly averted, but it was averted, and now we have ideally we'll have 6 traders all willing. I'm not going to fall for it. I'm pretty sure that would that would be pumpkins only, and we definitely would prefer to get both of the upper tier crops instead of just the pumpkins. So even though currently we've got more demand or more people that are going to want melons than pumpkins, that's kind of by design. I'd like that. Kind of by design is a reach. Frankly, we all know it. It's a good accident. It's well fortuned. Would you move, sir? Sir, come on. Okay, can I go right underneath you? Perfect. There we go. Now what do you got for us? Wheat and... We've already got wheat and beets, sir. Okay, but now I think we know the magic. We can grind and move. Grind. Oh, wait until we get to lecterns. Perfect. I'll lock it in. And this one should then give us... He'll get his little bubbles. Oh, spite. Okay, well, we'll get melons again. We didn't get the full thing, and I learned another lesson, which is just having pumpkins isn't a guarantee, or just having potatoes isn't a guarantee that you will get pumpkins. There's still some chance left to that, which makes me feel a little bit better about the earlier goose, because I was trying to recall what we'd encountered in the past, and it seemed to be it. But now I'm gonna try to use what crops I have on our lowest tier, guys. I'd like to get everybody up to the point where if they're gonna take melons, they will. It's not super priority at this point, but for those that still have some catching up to do, it's more worthwhile. And when we come back with beets in the future, we'll try to get those guys that only take beets up. But this gentleman is a good candidate because we want to max out his pumpkins. There you go. Now he's a expert, and we eventually will have scroll. Now we can get suspicious stew from him. So further progress. Our potato friend that doesn't want pumpkins, he's kind of a pumpkin snob. We may have to buy some apples from him eventually, but I don't want to. I did it that first time just to kind of, for science, figure out how bad we ended up. But not too bad, all things considered. Yeah, we didn't get the last pumpkin trade offered, and that's regrettable, but we got a lot of good options. Come on. Listen. And I'm just going to... And that one thing, before I completely space it, we kind of suspected that they were done breeding, so we're going to just invest some of our carrots here in repopulation. Never forget to prioritize that. Now over here we should have 2 librarians. Why are you not yet a librarian, sir? We'll try to place it again. There you go. Alright, now this, before we even get started, this is where we're going to need our luck. We need these couple things, and let's go see if we can't find somebody willing to take something off our hands to the tune of not potatoes, pumpkins. And I'm beginning to suspect that by having as many around here as we do, that they'll kind of keep themselves replenished more, maybe. It just feels that way early on. This is the first time that I really recall having 6 of the farmers going actively at once. And I don't know all the mechanical nuts and bolts of how their internal resupply works, but it would be sure nice if by having more conversations and more chances to interact with one another, that resupply mechanic fired more often throughout the day. Because again, that just means more emeralds. And what we had first brought over all the emeralds that we had, and we had 20 some. We did buy a stack of apples, and that cost us 16. So already we would have been up approaching 3 full stacks just in the trades, and we're up to level 48 already just from bouncing around and getting these guys set up with what we are pretty happy with in terms of trades. So I think we'll always unfortunately be long on pumpkins now, but the good news is they want, the 2 guys that want those want 6 at a pop, so we'll probably still be using melons more quickly, but we'll do our best with what we got, and I think we'll find that through it all we have that almost 3 full stacks of emeralds, and aside from the pumpkins, which we don't have any demand for at the moment, we're just about set. I didn't want a whole stack of pumpkins. I just wanted a couple, or apples, I mean. So that should make him pop. There we go. He's getting his bubbles. Good for him. Now, they've already got 1 young guy, but we haven't even set. And our next activity is going to be rolling for some librarian trades. So we'll just dump off these few extras now that we're set. As nice as it is to have all these extra chests, I think it's gonna become pretty laughable pretty quick, because when we bring in produce with that many traders, they're going to gobble it up. We won't even need to build up a supply. We'll have odds and ends, empty, ends of stacks that didn't fit with others. And down here, of course, we'll just keep the paper closer to where we need it. We're not going to be trading that over to our farmers. So, yeah, between these 2, we've got stacks. And again, I'm not going to eat a lot of apples. We probably got more now than we need, but we can convert those into golden apples. And having already made pumpkin pies, I have no desire for those. So it was the cheaper and better purchase to just flat out level the farmers for better secondary tier trade options. So that's why I did it, and we'll hold on to those. But today's activity, guys. Hey guys, how you doing? I know we don't really know each other very well yet, but we're going to see what you guys want to trade. So right out of the gate, what's the luck? Thorns 3, not interested. Thorns, in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with it. It makes your chest armor, and it can only go there. apply damage to when oh, so good. Boom. Already take it for 7. You can find it for cheaper, but it's not too necessary. Now we can, even before we find other enchantments, once we get another stack, we can make an axe. And in fact, we have 3, and it's a little crazy, but I may just consider. Well, I still want to get enchants before I add a book. Once you add a book with an enchantment, you can't pull it back, if that makes sense, or you can't ignore it for the sake of further enchanting the item, right? So what I want that silk touch for most of all right away is the axe. I want it for beehives. We were gonna, for science, the silk touch shovel that we found, the gold one, but now we won't need to. So my first priority would be to get it for a axe, and maybe we could just apply 1 silk touch to an iron axe, use that just for melons and a couple beehives, get them moved. Might be worth it. We don't have to rush the diamonds. We can still use those for a pick to get more, and the obsidian. But yeah, I'm very happy to have silk touch that early. It's not my super top, but it is one that we will continue to buy until late in the game, because even when we're fully set, you can never have too many picks, first of all, and then shovels. And aside from the 1 Fortune 3 pick that we'll want to make for the breaking up of the gems, we are going to want lots of potential, or lots of silk touch tools to do our various farming and mining long term when we're into more buildy type projects. If we need a bunch of gravel, or if we need a bunch of sand for glass, and having a few, 3 or 4 enchanted shovels ready to go that we can just blast through a desert and fill up some shulkers with. Awesome. Same goes for picks. 4 is a good starting point just for being out for extended trips into the nether. You have them, they can wear down, you just swap out, and then at some point we'll have an XP farm and can go back and repair those in between visits. So couldn't be happier. What I made though is a stack of signs, and this over time becomes increasingly important. So again, this is silk touch, and it's for 7 emeralds, and that's its base price. He may go lower at times, just like the farmers were. If enough of them around have a good trading relationship and have been doing some trading, then they'll kind of start a sale just out of goodwill kind of deal. And when they do that, then that price may drop further. Oh, look at it. Now it's 16 for infinity. Seems a little high, and frankly, I can wait on infinity. I like it. It's definitely one we're going to want to get set up, because just as I said, bows will not be repairable. So over time, we're going to have to continually use infinity, and so we'll need a supply of those, even more than for the sword type enchants. Getting the bow enchants available, power 5, and high, some of those types of options will long term be of more value, because we'll need to repeat the purchases. Being on Anthropods 5 is not essential. Punch 2, not essential. And I've talked about it a few times about the darkroom spawners. I definitely plan to build one at some point. I'd like to do enchanting around a darkroom spawner. I usually set mine up exclusively or almost exclusively for creepers so that I have a lot of gunpowder at hand, and that has suited me pretty well in my more recent evolutions. But I think that's a pretty good place to set up your long-term enchanting, because if you need a few extra levels to apply stuff, you can do it there. This is intriguing. Sharpness, protection, and a few others have max tier that you will rarely, if ever, see from the enchanting table. You know, the highest you can get from those, and I know protection. I'm not 100% on sharpness. You may rarely see it as a 5 on the table, but usually you're going to see a 4. And if you see a 4, then you'll have to add another 4 to it to get to the max sharpness for your sword. So it's very valuable because without having to hunt for it on your sword yourself, you can go for it and on breaking, which is very good, or some looting 3. If you see it, you just take it without worrying if it's going to be an effective thing. Having sharpness 5 ready in a book, you can just throw it on there and boom, you're done. The only reason I'm double thinking this, and I still may take it, right now I'm not sure what I'm going to do. If I take it now, I've got it, it's done, and even though it's expensive at 49, I'll only need it once, because you put it on the sword, it's done, and you've got your weapon ready to go, and this would make it much more likely that I have a sword I'm really happy with early on, and that almost makes it worth it. It means I can exclusively look for looting in my enchantment rolls, and with a little bit of patience and a lot of rerolls, I can find that available. It would burn through quite a few levels, but that would be very nice. The flip side is, I'm only going to buy it once. I don't need anything more. He's not offering especially if he had paper, it would be really appealing, because then I could say, all right, well, yeah, I'm going to use you once, but then I'm going to make a bunch of emeralds off you over time. And instead, you're just going to be sitting here saying that I impulsively grabbed it early, and it may be ages before I see this book again. And I may find a sharpness 4 for cheap, and you could buy 2 and throw them together. But with a sword, you want so many enchantments. You're going to want your sharpness, your sweeping edge, your looting, flame, fire aspect, maybe. I'm torn on that one a little bit. It feels a little trolly. You could put knockback. You need, what do we say? Sharpness, unbreaking, sweeping, mending, looting. It's 5, and I'm in addition to fire, I think there's one other maybe. I don't know. But yeah, 5 or 6 different enchantments. So when you have to put on 2 4s, that gets pricey, and I don't know how long, how much it's going to troll me. If I pass it now, how long will I have to wait to see it again? But I think we've got such a good start on breeding up these villagers. I'm going to go ahead and do it. You guys can all laugh at me in the comments. If this was the silliest thing I've ever done, feel free to go ahead and laugh, but we're gonna take the sharpness. So, sort of unplanned. I didn't come away with one of the 3 that I really, really, really want out of my villagers. The 3 that are my top wants and priorities are efficiency 5, and that will go on all our tools and greatly speed up their mining. Unbreaking 3 will go on almost everything, and that's why it's so valuable. It doesn't have a level up to 5, and you know, a lot of these enchantments do vary based on what they. You know what? That looks a little weird. How many? I think one up. Can we go up? Let's go here. It kind of looks like it's sitting on the line, right? Sharpness, not sharpness. I think that looks a little better, maybe. So now we know what he's got. He's locked in. We can just reposition this just to make it a little nicer looking, I think. Kind of keep up with the theme. So we have our first 2 librarians unexpectedly locked in. I don't have that efficiency or unbreaking or mending yet, but we're getting there. Let's do another box for our enchanting gear. This was the other empty one. Or I'm sorry, for our librarian trading gear. I like the sound of that hmms though, because we may have somebody ready to move over. Did you just get stuck outside? Alright, we'll let you go to your bed. Go on. Go on. There you go. Go to bed. Go on. Keep going. All the way over. Over here. Look at this. Nice bed. Oh my goodness. There he goes. Okay. So we're on our way. Those 2 will grow up. They will be our next candidates. I think we got more. Let's go ahead and ready up more lecterns. Wow, we're already so far over the time. What's amazing, once the stuff starts going, it sucks you in. It's really fun to get going, but I do want to break this episode. So, very cool. 2 that will have great use. Silk Touch we're going to use a lot. Sharpness will be awesome to have for our sword. So, very good progress. I'm going to tote those back over to the house because our anvil is there, but we're not going to put them on yet. We're going to put these building type supplies away. Let's make a few more signs because we'll need them. So I think in our next episode, our first stop will be home. We'll square away the stuff that we've gotten. Maybe take another swing down looking for diamonds because man, that need is going to be ever growing. We're going to need to try to I don't know if this is silly or not, but let's get these rooms set up. Sorry, and I'll finish my thought here in a second. We're going to head back home. We're going to empty out some of these odds and ends that we've now got gathered up. We're going to maybe take a quick pop down, see if we can get lucky with another pocket of diamonds. That would make all the difference in the world. Then we'll maybe harvest, but we want to get back over here pretty quickly because we want as much time as possible for these guys to grow and keep going. We're going to start using the night times to blast further out. Now that we've taken some low use ones, we're going to want to be turning and grabbing good enchantments as quick as we can make them show up. So that's the kind of the plan for the next episode. And for me, that will be after a short break. If you're watching at home or playing games a lot, do make sure that you take opportunities to get up and go outside for a walk if the weather allows it. If not, do something to get your body moving a little bit. Keep that blood flowing and circulating through your legs and your fingers and all your various body parts to promote good health. We don't want you guys to suffer ill effects. So take a good break, get a drink, let your mind reset and your eyes relax for a while, and there'll be plenty of time. We'll rejoin here shortly, so it'll be no time at all in YouTube land. But between you and I, we'll go enjoy ourselves for a little while and come on back. Thanks again, as always. Really appreciate it when you guys are willing to share your time with me by watching these videos, and look forward to your comments and feedback below. So have a great day. Bye now.